So, very good afternoon, everyone, dear friends and distinguished members. This is a very important topic that we're going to be discussing today. But before we start, uh,
Sorry, I think
is there a problem? So, friends, before I start off with my welcome, a special mention of our condolences as well as our support for all those who have lost their lives, as well as the huge amount of human suffering that has happened because of Amphan. We know that there has been huge losses all over the state. So our special prayers for all those who are suffering right now, and we wish them a very speedy recovery from this most unfortunate cyclone. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we start off, we know this is a very important topic, especially because as we talk about workplaces opening up now all over the country, there is still the risk of the virus looming on us. So there's a very important risk assessment and advice that we're going to get today on mitigating the risk. So it's my great pleasure to extend a warm and hearty welcome to all of you to this very important subject. And my very special thanks and gratitude to these very distinguished gentlemen who we have here who are going to discuss this subject with us. We have Mr. Naman Shah, CEO and founder of Now Purchase, Dr. Pranay Kumar Agarwal, who's a consultant and specialty ENT clinic, and Mr. Shubham Kannani, uh, Director Technical Chemtech Specialty Limited. So thank you, sirs, for your valuable time and for addressing us today. With your varied experience and valuable insights, we are confident we'll definitely, everybody, all of us who are attending this will benefit. Friends, as most of the workplaces look forward to reopening and the organizations prepare to start their operations, employees are forced to respond to COVID-19. As part of this new reality, employers will be required to consider what measures will be needed to reduce and prevent the spread of illness in the workplace. Instilling confidence in employees that it is safe to attend work, minimizing and preventing operational interruptions that could be caused by workplace infections. These are big challenges in front of us, and a safer workplace would be essential for the country's economy to get back on its feet. The Government of India has issued notifications and SOPs regarding opening of workplaces. The Ministry of Home Affairs has said social distancing must be ensured to adequate gaps during shift hours, lunch breaks, etc. The ministry directive has said thermal screening, sufficient quantities of hand wash and sanitizer, preferably with touch-free mechanism, should be made available at all entry and exit points and common areas of workplace. An organization must carry out frequent sanitization of entire workplace and the points which have come into human contact, including door handles, etc. The use of the Arogya Setu app, developed by the government to help citizens assess themselves on the risk of their catching the infection, is also advised for all employees. Staggering of work and business hours shall be followed in offices, workplaces, shops, markets, and industrial and commercial establishments. The ministry has asked organizations to identify nearby hospitals or clinics authorized to treat COVID-19 patients and make the list available at workplaces. Employees showing any symptoms of coronavirus should be sent for a checkup immediately, and quarantine areas must be earmarked for isolating employees till they are moved to medical centers. Friends, without taking much of your time, in the end, I would say that the risky and unsafe working environment has a significant human, social, and economic cost, which we should strive to eliminate by ensuring that all workplaces are safe and healthy. In the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, occupational safety and health takes an even more important role. This is why the theme of this 2020 World Day for Safety and Health at Work is Stop the Pandemic, Safety and Health at Work Can Save Lives. This campaign promotes the adoption of occupational safety and health measures in response to this pandemic aimed at preventing and mitigating health risks. including those arising from new working arrangements. The current pandemic is reminding us all of the importance of occupational safety and health and the dangers of exposure to undue health risks. I'm sure our experts today will throw more light on this subject. Before I end my speech, I would like to thank Now Purchase, our sponsors, in whose association we are organizing this webinar today. With these words, I would like to once again welcome all of you to this very important session and look forward to a lot of insights on how to make our workplace safer given the current scenario. I hand over the reins to Mr. Naman Shah and request him to take the proceedings forward. Over to you, Naman. Naman, you are on mute.
My bad. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction to the topic of today. So the way we were trying to keep the format for this event today is that we'll primarily keep it interactive, because most of us have gone through multiple webinars or multiple papers already on different kinds of aspects of safety of workplace amidst the pandemic. So the way we'll do it is I'll just set the stage with a short opening session around what does it mean to get back to work during the pandemic. Post that, we would have Dr. Pranay Agarwal speak about that how do you manage if you get someone in your workplace who has COVID or shows strong symptoms of the same. How do you manage as an employer such a scenario? Post that, we will have Mr. Shubham speak about different chemicals and what each chemical stands for and how should you use each of them. Because today, in today's world, there are a lot of chemicals which are being proposed by different organizations, and there are a lot of myths going around on which chemical is safe and what is not. We'll try to take Mr. Shubham's expertise to solve those problems. So I'll just like to share my screen. So I believe all of you can see my screen. So, primarily, I would just like to share with one screen and talk about 4 different things here, which is being discussed on a regular basis by everyone. So one, that, COVID is the new normal. So what does it mean? We are hearing this line multiple times from different people at different points in our day-to-day life. As we fight this pandemic, we have realized that, coming up, fighting from this pandemic with a vaccine is still 18 to 24 months away. Now, with multiple lockdowns already enforced, it has become essential we get back to life and start economic activity. It is essential that all of us start treating COVID as the new normal. So when we go to workplace, putting our feet in the dip tray to ensure that our feet is sanitized, ensuring that we are wearing masks as a normal mode of dressing, ensuring that we are using gloves has become a new normal. Now, the fact that it has become a new normal, it is even more important that we give these things importance, because initially people were very much aware and they were more scared about what's happening. But now once the lockdown has started to open, people will be going back to workplace, and keeping these safety norms in place has become even more important. Secondly, I would like to talk about, in general, the workplace SOP. All of us have now purchased. While purchasing it is one important aspect, the even more important aspect is how do you ensure proper compliance and proper usage of the same at your workplace. So imagine this: at a large factory, there is a queue of hundreds of workers entering. So what should be happening the first thing? So one important thing which we are talking to all our partners is that whenever someone enters a factory, it is essential that before entering the factory itself, you try to ensure that the dip tray is placed, there's a contactless dispenser placed for hand washing, and the thermal screening is done, and the mask is worn after washing your hands. This is a very critical point, right? Everyone's talking about wearing masks. But if the mask itself is contaminated, it does very little good to any of us. So it is essential that the mask is worn right after the washing of the hands versus it being worn in a dirty state. Post the entrance at the factory, what we are suggesting to all our partners is that to install some kind of staggered entry. So instead of everyone entering at 8 a.m. to the factory for the first shift, can the shifts be now in a 2-hour slot? So 8 to 10 a.m. so that everyone enters in a staggered shift, and automatically that reduces the crowd and sort of enforces social distancing. Post which is working, right? All the workers are on the shop floor and they're working. One of the most critical things which is happening today when we're talking to people is that while the hands are being washed, while the mask is being worn, a lot of times the different surfaces, it could be the CNC panel of a machine, it could be a knob of something which is not being sanitized. So surface cleaning is something which is extremely important as we continue to start operating. As more and more people come to work, these common surfaces are going to be touched by more and more folks. So it's important that surface cleaning be given equal or even more importance than washing your own hands and sanitization. Post which we are encountering that usually there's a lunch break where people are facing huge amount of crowds, and all the good work being done in the first half is becoming futile. Factories and employers need to take extreme careful steps to ensure that the canteens in the workplace are having equipped space so that there is social distancing and people can have lunch in a staggered way. Post which is going back home. Now again, even the leaving at the evening has to be in a staggered way, and the wearing of the masks even on the way back home is something essential which the employer should enforce. The reason I'm saying this is that now with the public transport opening up, the workers are going to be again going back in the public transport, and if they're not having the adequate precaution while they're going back home, it's again putting back all the great work which companies are doing to maintain the SOP, becoming futile. One other key point which I would like to place on the workplace SOP is the cleanliness around the laptops and the mobiles and the printers. These are primarily the two most important things which everyone is using on a day-to-day basis. So it is essential that these 2 or 3 gadgets are sanitized on a very regular basis, else these become contaminated, and these are surfaces which we are often taking and making it close to our face while we are speaking. My last 2 points are around social stigma and finding a trusted supplier. So while the pandemic has made us more hygiene, we have become more cautious, it has also increased the stigma. So anyone found coughing now, anyone having fever, anyone having cold, anyone having breathlessness is seen with an eye of suspicion. While it is factual that we have to be careful with such individuals, it is also extremely important that the employers set up an SOP how to deal with such individuals so that a stigma isn't there. When I say a stigma isn't there, what I mean is that if someone is having cough, it doesn't mean that he can't be spoken to for another 15 days, another 25 days. All these kind of stigmas have become very prevalent in our society, and it is important to have the right knowledge with respect to these stigmas. Lastly, as we continue to get back to work, it is essential that we procure the right items, but also ensure that we are procuring the right quality of goods. Because as the competition heats up, there would be multiple sources coming up for different kinds of goods. So figuring out a source for each of these safety items on an auto replenishment model is extremely important, so that at the end of the day, we can go back to work and focus on our core economic activity versus worrying about procurement of safety supplies. These are primarily the 4 key topics which I wanted to speak about as an openings address to today's webinar. I will now hand over the stage to Dr. Pranay Agarwal, who would speak about different medical situations which you can encounter at your workplace and how to deal with the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naman. That was Naman has elucidated very nicely what are the basic precautions that we need to take in our workplace so as to prevent the spread of COVID. just share my screen. Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Pranay Agarwal from Specialty ENT Clinic, consultant ENT and head neck surgeon. So when we talk about mitigating the risk of COVID at our workplace, there are certain things that we need to keep in mind. One is the basic precautions and the basic measures that we will have at our workplace. And Mr. Naman has very nicely told us the use of masks, hand sanitizers, staggered timings, and social distancing. So these are things I'll not touch upon. So what I'll specifically talk about is what to do if someone tests positive, or what to do if someone complains that they are not feeling well. The first thing that I would like to say is please don't panic. There's a lot of panic all around us. Everybody is panicking. If somebody tests positive, we are getting WhatsApp forwards that the whole road is being sealed, that the whole building is being sealed. All this is adding to unnecessary panic. So the first thing is don't panic. What you need to do is you need to isolate that person. So to isolate, you will need a separate isolation room in your workplace. And anybody who's handling that person should wear a personal protective equipment. So don't rush in to help him. Have dedicated personnel to help people who are ill, who will wear a personal protective equipment. And such a person should be shifted to the isolation room till you can get further help. So after shifting the person, what you need to do is call up your local health authorities. Now, like Mr. Kothari said, government is drawing up a list of centers which will manage COVID, government as well as private centers. So you can call up any government center and ask for help, or you can call up the private centers. Either they will send you a medical team, or you will have to send the patient to that center. What happens when the medical team attends the patient? First, what they will do is they will assess whether the patient is a COVID patient or his symptoms are not related to COVID. If it is a non-COVID symptom, the patient will be sent off to a non-COVID healthcare setup. But if it is a COVID symptom, they will assess whether it's a high risk, medium risk, or a low risk case. Please remember, anybody who's suspected of having COVID should be tested for COVID. So if a person is low risk, we need not panic. Government will not come pick us up, throw us in some center which is brimming with a lot of patients. Now home isolation is being allowed by the government. We can, if we have the facility, we can isolate ourselves at home. But if we are a medium risk or a high risk candidate, it is best for us to go and check into an institution, because it is not just about infecting others, it is also about our own health. Now, if a patient tests positive, only if a patient tests positive, the government will initiate contact tracing. Now, what is this contact tracing? So what the government will do is, they will make a list of all the people this suspected patient has come in contact with 48 hours prior to onset of your symptoms till the present date. Now, after making that list, they will itself decide whether it is a high-risk contact or a low-risk contact. Now, what is the advantage of this? A low-risk contact can continue working. He need not go and isolate himself or quarantine himself at home. It is only the high-risk contacts who will be asked to go and quarantine themselves at home and check for symptoms, be in touch with the health authorities. So who is a high-risk contact? Anybody who comes in contact with the body fluids of the patient. So for example, if the patient coughs on somebody or sneezes on somebody, that patient is a high-risk contact. This is where the use of masks become very important, because if a patient is wearing a mask, the contact with body fluids will be minimum. What if somebody touches the clothes of the patient or the dishes of the patient or the linen he sleeps on? Such a person becomes a high-risk contact. Anybody who touches the patient directly is a high-risk contact. That is why anybody who handles the patient should be wearing a personal protective equipment so that you don't come in direct contact with the patient. Now, close proximity is also a high risk. Now, by close proximity, if somebody walks past by the patient, we do not call it a high-risk contact. In fact, it is not significant. So when does close proximity become significant? When the duration of contact is for more than 15 minutes. So if you happen to pass by the contact, don't worry, you're absolutely safe. You don't really have to worry about coronavirus. It is only people who are staying in close proximity to the patient who needs to be a little more alert. Finally, we have the household contacts who are considered as close contacts. So if you are a high-risk contact, you will be asked to home quarantine. They will call you up regularly to check whether you are having any symptoms of coronavirus, of COVID. If you have symptoms, you will be asked to come in and go for a test. Not everybody is getting tested. Keep this in mind, every contact will not be tested by the government. The protocols do not suggest testing each and every contact of the patient. If you are a low risk contact, you can in fact continue going to your workplace and you'll have to self-monitor your symptoms. If you feel ill, inform the concerned authorities. The next question that everybody asks is, since a case has tested positive, will my office get closed? Will my factory be closed? Mostly it will not be closed. There's unnecessary panic going around. The setups are not being closed. So what they are doing is, if there are only 1 or 2 cases, they will just disinfect that place. If it's a separate building, only that building will be disinfected. If it's a separate floor, only that floor will be disinfected. Then when can the factory be closed? It will only be closed if there are recurrent cases from your workplace. Or if there's a large number of people who have tested positive, supposedly 20 people test positive from your factory, then they will close your place. But over here also, keep in mind, they only close it to disinfect it. They will disinfect that place and then it will be reopened after 48 hours. So there's no closing of the place for 14 days. It is only for contacts. It is not for workplaces. I have this chart over here which just shows our risk of, getting COVID and dying from COVID. This is mainly to reduce the panic. It is only the people in category C who really have to be afraid of dying from COVID. This does not mean that we should relax. But what it means is taking the basic precautions, using hand sanitizers, social distancing, mask. We all can and should get back to work. But the people who are at increased risk, we should actually think whether they do really need to come, whether they can work from home, how much is their risk of contact. They are the ones who should actually try to stay away from work till we have better treatment protocols or a vaccine is available. I'd like to end by if anyone has any questions, we can take them now. We can actually take them after Mr. Shubham is done with his speech. I'll hand over it to Mr. Naman Shah again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Agarwal, for this extremely insightful sharing. Primarily whether the workplace will be shut or this is something which we get often from a lot of people, and that's causing a lot of chaos, and people are becoming paranoid because of that. People can post their questions. We shall take up all the questions at the end. We have kept a decent amount of time so that there's a decent amount of time for people to ask their questions and get answers for the same. I shall hand over now the stage to Mr. Karnani, who would be speaking primarily around the different kinds of chemicals which are being used for different purposes, try to bust some myths around which chemicals are safe, which are not, and how do you go around selecting the right chemical. I'll hand it over now to Shubham.
Well, thank you, Naman, and thank you, Dr. Pranay, and thank you, Mr. Kothari, for a lovely beginning of the session. So far, the way the pace of the entire webinar is going, I would like to keep up to that pace, and it is very informative, and let us be very crisp with the information. So immediately, as we all know, and what Naman has already briefed about workplace SOPs, and there are various kind of SOPs which have been issued by various government authorities. So I'll just quickly get on with a presentation, and then we can discuss things there. Right. So that's Chemtex. Chemtex is a specialty chemicals manufacturing company. We started our operations in 1970, and it's been 50 years now. So sanitization, as Naman correctly pointed out, is the new normal, and sanitization is not a one-time job. it has to be done on a regular basis. This is now a way of life. And then there are certain SOPs by the MSME, World Health Organization, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and various such organizations, that how workplace safety and SOPs should be followed. And it is based on the SOPs that we have received or collected from all these places, is what we have created a kind of SOP video of how a workplace should operate, and what are the chemicals, what are the products that they should be using. uh, Virus is not something which has come, which we are dealing with for the first time. Virus has been dealt by the hospitals, but we have never heard that any hospital going for a lockdown. The reason that hospitals don't go for a lockdown even while dealing with more nastier virus than this, is because there are certain SOPs that are followed. There are certain disinfection and sanitization procedures and policies which are maintained. So just going by those products, as we have been working with the healthcare industry for more than a decade now, and we have been all these hand sanitizers and different kind of surface disinfectants have been into use by these healthcare industries, health care providers. So these are the same products, just done in a different look and feel of packaging. So let me just quickly show you one video which explains you about the workplace sanitation, how the workplace sanitation should be carried out. Can you see the video?
Currently, we can't see a video. It's still buffering, and we still, as of now, we can't see it, Shubham.
Okay. Just one second. Let me try again.
You can try sharing your screen again, Shubham, and see if that helps.
I think there is a technical glitch why I cannot present the video to you.
Maybe you want to come back to it, Shubham, if we can start, and then we can again come back to it.
Yes. Okay. So anyways, now this particular video, we will share the link of this video, which can be viewed on YouTube. This is available on YouTube. If we are not able to show you here, you can have a look at it on YouTube. Coming back to the presentation part.
Shubham, we currently can't hear you. I think no one. I don't think people can hear you as of now.
I
Naman,
think Shubhamji, I think we've lost him.
I think his connection
I
is
think
not good
he's.
because his screen is
Yeah.
full. Can you call him, Naman, and figure out?
I'll just give him a call on the phone and get back. Give me a.
Yeah, I think his screen is frozen. Let's check.
Yeah. Am I visible now?
Shubham, can you hear us? And now I
Yeah,
think
he's come back. He's come back.
Yeah, Shubham, I think we can hear you now. If you could just try to share your screen once more, and possibly we can do the video later on, given the limited bandwidth and connection issues we are facing. So can you just give it a try to share the screen once?
Connection unstable. Yeah, visible. Yeah. So here, as you can see that once someone enters the office premise, the first thing that is, after hand sanitizing is most important is that we sanitize our mobile phones, for which we use an alcohol-based sanitizer with quaternary ammonium compound. Which are commonly touched surfaces, it kills the virus in less than 5 seconds. Now this is a floor disinfectant, which just simply needs to be diluted, and we can either mop the floor, and I will come back to this why do we have to do floor disinfection. It can also be used with a sprayer in an industrial environment. The dilution ratio is just 40 ml per 10 liter for this solution. The effective cost per usage becomes extremely low. So we have a biosecurity package which has all these three products, a 5 liter of each and 2 bottles of 500 ml each. Now this biosecurity package can serve a 1 month requirement for any company with 5,000 square feet of area. So as we could see in the presentation, that there is a biosecurity package in which we have a is my screen visible?
Shivam, currently your screen isn't visible, and I think due to network connection, probably the video is causing a lot of issues. So maybe a static screen would be easier to share
Yeah, so
in
let
the
us get onto a
view of
static screen
time.
only. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So on the static screen, as we can see that these are hand sanitizers. The three products that we discussed are hand sanitizer and instant surface disinfectant, and quaternary dialkyl quaternary based disinfectant for our floor disinfection. So why floor disinfection is important is because it's not that the floor can be only infected with anyone bringing the virus into our premise with shoes, but it's the floor disinfection is important because this is a virus which has a big particle size of about 0.12 micron, and this particle size is makes it a surface borne virus. And on any hard surface, this virus can stay alive for up to 4 to 9 days. So if we are let's say the floor is of ceramic tile or marble or any such hard surface, anyone is talking, sneezing, coughing in sodium disconnect. I'm sorry, guys. There's a
Shubham, I think, just because given that the network issues and the effort of time,
poor internet
and
connectivity, which is causing a lot of
yeah,
trouble.
Shubham, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. Right. Okay. 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 Hmm. So, guys, I'll quickly jump to our the other products which we have, and all these products can be discussed on a product selection guide. Now, understanding that there is problem with the connectivity and my presentation is not properly visible to you, so let me present to you this product selection guide. I hope this is visible. Naman, can you please confirm on this?
Yeah, it's visible. It will be great if you can just
Okay.
share about, the what chemicals not to use
Yes,
and where to
yes,
use what,
yes. So
and
let
then we could
me,
jump into questions for at least 15 minutes.
yes. So as we can see in this product selection guide, there is the first product, which is a alcohol-based surface disinfectant, which works in 5 seconds of time. The second product is Alstasan 2-256, which has to be diluted. So all the information about the dilution ratio are mentioned here. There is another product as Alstasan Silvox 150 Mist. Now this product is extremely effective on any kind of food contact surfaces. This can be used for vegetable washing and such kind of things. There are various machines and equipments that you can see in this row, which can be used, and which product should be used with what machine. And there is hand sanitizer, which we all know about. Then there is antimicrobial hand wash. And then in this particular sheet, we can see that what product should be used. Let's say in vehicles, as far as the exterior of vehicle is concerned, interiors are concerned, personal hygiene, what product should be used, how to disinfect or decontaminate the PPEs. We are wearing this N95 masks, and PPEs in the workplaces are being used as face shields and all these things. So these also require regular decontamination. And then there are hard surfaces, which there is a complete description of what are the hard surfaces and how do we distinguish between a hard surface and a soft surface. So hard surface is something which is non-porous in nature, which you cannot penetrate through, and soft surfaces are porous in nature. So what products should be used against a hard surface and a soft surface are also mentioned here. Then in a lot of our businesses, we see a lot of incoming goods, and these incoming goods typically get touched by a lot of people throughout the tenure of transportation and all. So what product should be used for decontamination of which kind of packagings, and then what can be used for the kitchen, pantry, etc. For the air fumigation, as you know, a lot of places are opening after a long period of time. We see that there are studios, there are boutiques, and there are so many offices or workplaces which are opening up after a long time now. These workplaces which are opening after a long time, there have been people who were working here and who have left a lot of considerable amount of germs and bacteria in those places. And these bacteria and germs have been incubating inside this area, in this confined area. And this incubated bacteria, virus, germs, fungus on the table surfaces, on leather, on various kind of fabrics, all this, and also in the air conditioners of the systems. So all these areas needs to be disinfected by ways of fumigation. So products for these applications are also available, which helps in the indoor air quality improvement and fumigation of the indoor air. So there are all these information are available on our website, and most of these products are available on nowpurchase.com also, which can be made available for people. And as rightly pointed out by Naman about the trusted supplier. So amidst this entire crisis, when we are having this crisis, this has suddenly created a big market for a lot of a lot of companies have mushroomed up, and it is important for consumers to see and select the right kind of product, because it is about the biosecurity of your own people, and biosecurity should not be compromised with anything which you're not trusting upon. So it is I would just want to end this by saying that always for your biosecurity, you should buy products from your trusted sources. I think now we can go ahead with the Q&A section. Yeah. Limited amount of time. I'm sorry for the technical glitches that happened in between. So let us have the questions.
Thank you, Shubham, for your insights on different kinds of surfaces and how to sanitize those surfaces. Shubham, if you would just allow me to stop your screen sharing on your end, please. We have multiple questions, around 17, 18 questions, and I'll try to get through all of them and get answers for everyone's knowledge. So one of the questions which we have got, which is a common theme from one of the attendees, is that when we say sanitization on a regular basis, does it mean daily or hourly? Let's say for our own phones and laptops, how often does one need to sanitize them? So for this one, I shall take it up and speak about the same, right? One of the common questions which are being also asked is about the areas which are being sanitized. So what we are seeing is that in terms of the areas, it is suggested that they be sanitized at least once a day. So if you're talking about a factory, maybe once before the shift or after the shift. One of the key things to keep in mind while during this sanitization is that no one should access that area for at least 45 minutes to 1 hour if some kind of spraying has been done in that particular area, given that the particles would have a greater chance to shift from one area to the other. So it is suggested to not use the area for 45 minutes to 1 hour. And in terms of sanitizing your laptops and phones, it's primarily definitely should be done daily and should definitely be done post coming back from an outside area or from your workplace, or post it has been given to someone who else has used it. After any such instance, it definitely should be sanitized. Another question which we have is that how much is the risk of infection through the outdoor shoes, and why is dipping of shoes important? Dr. Agarwal, would you like to throw some light on this, that how much is the risk of infection through outdoor shoes, and is dipping of shoes important?
Okay, like what I would like to say regarding this is, again, this is more of fear and paranoia. Actually, there has been no documented case in which coronavirus has spread through footwear. So most of the spread of infection is through the hand fomites and not through your shoes or the floor surfaces. So it is not really mandatory, but considering general hygiene and sanitization purposes, it is better if the shoes, either the shoes are opened outside, or if you can actually, there are shoe covers which are available, disposable shoe covers. So if those can be used, or the shoe dip as shown in the video, a shoe dip is used. But the risk of coronavirus is extremely low, less than 1%, I would say.
Sure. Another question which we have is that, is there a handheld gadget that can be used to identify the coronavirus on surfaces? So I think we're still far away from that, and that technology is still developing.
It still takes some
and
time.
hence the usage of surface cleaning becomes extremely important.
Yes.
One more question which we have from Mr. Saraf here, which maybe Shubham, you could take up, is that a lot of people have some myths around alcohol-based sanitizers, and they are considered harmful or inflammable. Could you throw some light on that?
Yes, absolutely. So this is, thank you for the question. And this is extremely important to know that alcohol-based sanitizers are extremely flammable in nature. So alcohol has a very low flash point. Anything which has over 30% of alcohol in it can be highly flammable in nature. And a lot of accidents have been reported by using, the wrong kind of products to dispense alcohol-based sanitizers. There are some aerosol spraying machines, atomizers, and fogging machines, and so-called smoke machines, and all these machines have been used, and people have, with very little knowledge, have used the wrong product to use that, and there has been accidents. So alcohol-based hand sanitizer is best to be dispensed out of the bottle, and you can use any certified CE certified machines to use as a dispenser. So of course, I mean, to your question, Naman, yes, alcohol-based sanitizers are highly flammable in nature. And there are other questions which are related to chemicals, which I would like to take up. Now, there is one question which is being asked is about how long will it take for Alstrasan Silvox 150 mist to sanitize a surface. So Alstrasan Silvox 150 mist is typically based out of a product which is a silver hydrogen peroxide. It is not just simple hydrogen peroxide, but it is silver accelerated hydrogen peroxide, which just takes 60 seconds to sanitize. And this is a CDC approved formulation, or CDC recommended formulation, I should say. That anything which has a silver content in a hydrogen peroxide solution, which has silver content, can sanitize the surface in less than 60 seconds. Now there is another thing is that how do you distinguish between a product which is which has silver content or it does not have silver content? So there is a very simple experiment that can be carried out, and we have a video posted on YouTube to for people to know that anything which has silver content in it, any hydrogen peroxide based product which has silver content in it, can be checked very simply by just adding a pinch of salt into it. So if you the moment you add some salt to a silver based product, what happens is that the Ag ions get reacted with the chloride ions and forms AgCl, which is silver chloride, which is a milky white emulsion. So that product instantly becomes milky white. So if your product, if your disinfectant is turning into milky white, then it is the right disinfectant. If it is not, then you must check what you're buying.
Great. So I think that's a quick, easy test on ensuring that you're using the right disinfectant. Another question which a lot of times you get asked, a lot of people talk about is one of the questions which I've got is, are separate isolation rooms mandatory for even a small office of 20 people? Dr. Agarwal, would you like to share on this?
Thank you for the question, Naman. Separate isolation rooms per se are not mandatory. What they say is that you should have some space where you can keep the patient till you can avail of medical assistance. So, it might be an area which is far away from where other people are sitting. The main aim is that the infection, every patient should be considered a COVID suspect unless otherwise proved so. The main aim is to keep the other people safe. So the person who's suspected who is unwell should be kept in a space which is separate from rest of the office staff. So it might be a room, it might be a separate area, but it is not mandatory. It is definitely not mandatory.
Okay, fair enough. I think there are 2-3 questions around, when I'm going through these questions, there are 2-3 questions around, there's been a lot of discussion around disinfection tunnels, sanitization tunnels. A lot of people have considered that, it is harmful, it is banned by the government, with different notifications coming out from down south and different things which we're reading in the news. So here a general myth is that disinfection tunnel or sanitization tunnel is banned. That was never the case. It was primarily with respect to some harmful chemicals which were being used in those disinfection tunnels, which were being banned, which could either cause irritation to the eyes or would have a harmful reaction to the skin if used on a regular basis. Now, given the fact that the places would open up and there would be, maybe like one of the viewers has asked, is that what happens and how do you keep an office building safe, which has 500 or 600 people moving in and out every hour? So here the usage of disinfection tunnels are becoming a commonplace when the retail places are opening up. But here it is essential to use some of the chemicals which are probably not harmful, and what's suggested by some of the medical authorities, even in India as well as abroad, is the usage of a particular composition with hydrogen peroxide. Shubham, would you like to add anything on this?
Yes, absolutely. So, exactly. So, disinfection tunnel was never banned as for the reason of as a technology. Disinfection tunnel, I would say that nothing is 100% effective. Just like that, even disinfection tunnel cannot be called as a 100% effective thing. But then there are enough sources, or there are enough studies which say that disinfection tunnel can possibly reduce the virus load on any human body by up to 70%. So even if that is the case, then that is enough, too big a number for not to be ignored. So the reason why the tunnel got so unpopular was because sodium hypochlorite solution was sprayed out of the disinfection tunnel, and sodium hypochlorite is a highly corrosive and irritating liquid. Now, as far as the WHO has recommended, the sodium hypochlorite or the chlorine content of when you are using sodium hypochlorite should be 1000 ppm. Now, I'll just give you a perspective that what is 1000 ppm of chlorine. So the swimming pool that we use regularly, and we go into the pool, and when we come out and say that today our eyes are burning or there is skin irritation or something, so what we are dealing with in the swimming pool is just 1 ppm of chlorine. So what the WHO has recommended is 1000 ppm of chlorine. So 1000 ppm of chlorine is 1000 times higher amount of chlorine that we get in our swimming pool water. So if you are throwing that high concentration of chlorine or spraying that high concentration of chlorine on people, we have to this is what we had to expect out of using chlorine. So and there are certain questions which are being asked, and this is a very frequently asked question to us, that how can we replace sodium hypochlorite? So many authorities are recommending sodium hypochlorite, but then when people are using sodium hypochlorite, there are complaints that there is a huge amount of gas that develops in an indoor space, and then people have complained of corrosion of their metal parts. Every metal part is getting corroded. Then there are complaints that any fabric or any colored surface gets bleached off. And the color loses off when we use sodium hypochlorite. So yes, all these things are part and parcel of using sodium hypochlorite. So it is a bleach, it is highly corrosive. Chlorine with hydrogen converts into hydrochloric acid, so it is very corrosive. So there are various elements which have made sodium hypochlorite very unpopular these days. And I would just want to quickly just show you one portion wherein we are just how Astaxanthin 256 becomes a better choice when compared to sodium hypochlorite. So this particular product is based out of uh, WHO, dialkyl quaternary based ammonium compound, and it is non-corrosive. It does not bleach. It does not cause burning of sensation, and all these things. But having said all this, this is a product which can be used for floor furniture, vehicles, all incoming parcels, everything, but not to be sprayed through disinfection tunnels. So this is not a product which should be sprayed through disinfection tunnels. While we have other product which can be shared with from disinfection tunnel.
Naman, if I could take my, if I could take that question once, I have a very different stand on it. So one thing that we should remember is the virus, it is present inside the person. It is not on the surface, right? So no disinfection tunnel can disinfect the virus which is present inside the person. So first, disinfection tunnel should not make us lax about the need for the basic measures, which is mask and sanitization and social distancing. The second is, although chemicals might be safe, none of the guidelines right now actually recommend use of any disinfectant on a human person. So disinfection tunnels are being recommended for your goods, your automobiles, vehicles, trucks. They are being passed through the disinfection tunnels to disinfect them. But as such, because any chemical, if it by mistake enters your eyes, it will cause a lot of trouble, because no chemical is absolutely safe.
Of course. So, I think this is a topic which is always, because at the end of the day, these are chemicals which we are, having to use today in some form on our hands or on our surface to fight this deadly virus. And, it is essential that we figure out what is the, the least cost solution in terms of harming human health, but still giving us the best solution. I would just take one last question. And I think one of the questions which we have been asked is that, this is a question which has been directed to Dr. Agarwal, where, there are a lot of remedies, a lot of home remedies, a lot of different kinds of remedies being posted on YouTubes and different social media channels. People are, what is your take on this? And what is your suggestion for, the common man?
All of us are aware that there's no known cure for coronavirus as of now. Whatever the remedies that is on YouTube, whatever people are seeing, most of them are general remedies to boost your immune system. I think I've not gone through all the videos that is available, but a person should use their own common sense whether what they are doing is safe for them or not. There's no harm in boosting your own immune system, but nothing can really protect you from coronavirus if your immune system cannot handle it. There's nothing that can guarantee that coronavirus will not have a detrimental effect on your health. So use your own judgment, and if you feel that you are ill, you are having any symptoms of coronavirus, please do visit the nearest healthcare center.
So
yes, I would completely agree to that point.
Sorry.
Yes, I would completely agree to the point that Dr. Pranay has pointed out, that yes, common sense is extremely important, and we all are getting paranoid with the fact that coronavirus. I see people jogging with wearing mask and jogging solo. I mean, they're jogging in the evening and they're jogging all alone and they're wearing mask. It's not that mask is required or such kind of protection is required when we have people around. When we don't have people around, it's not that this virus is not an airborne virus and it is not going to come into our lungs. So it's extremely important that we use a lot of common sense, do a lot of study, research, and people showing the coming in such large numbers to attend such kind of webinars clearly shows, and we can clearly see that how everyone is concerned about the entire situation and how everyone is wanting to educate themselves. So another question that that is being asked here is what is the product that can be used for vegetable disinfection. This is also a very common question which keeps coming up. So vegetables, vegetables can be disinfected with what is available at home. It can be disinfected with vinegar. It can be disinfected with baking soda, and we also have a product which is again silver hydrogen peroxide based, which is non-toxic in nature, and it is Alstracin Silvox 150 mist, which is extremely highly potential to disinfect vegetables. So because all these things which are coming, and where we are a lot of people are putting their hands on, so we must be cautious and take certain precautions to ensure that the virus does not enter our houses. Over to you, Naman.
So, like at the end of the day, the goal of this webinar has been to educate all of us, share our views from different aspects, from different fraternities, right from a side, from the manufacturing side of the sanitizers to disinfectants, to the medical side, to someone like Now Purchase, who's dealing with a lot of businesses and offices on a day-to-day basis. As this is something which is very novel and new, there is no foolproof solution, or there is bound to be disagreement on what is right and what is wrong, and it is bound to continuously evolve.
Naman,
I would like to thank, sorry, go ahead.
if I could add one thing about the common sense thing. In fact, the government recently had to issue an advisory that people should not drive their vehicles with the windows closed and AC on if they are wearing an N95 mask. There have been cases where people are collapsing. It's very difficult to breathe through that mask. So it's the same the common sense thing which Shubham was talking about. If you're inside a vehicle with the windows closed and the AC on, you need not actually wear a mask at that time.
Definitely. So, I think the questions, we were able to take a good majority of the questions. If any questions
there is one question.
Sorry.
Yeah. So there is one question that has been asked, and even this comes as a question a lot of times, that someone is asking for what is the cost of biosecurity box. So why I would like to answer this question is because there is a myth with a lot of people that disinfection, sanitation. I spoke with a couple of people who said that I'm not going to open my office during this time, or open my works during this time, because now I'll have to invest a lot, and there will be so much of expense on sanitation, disinfection, and all these things. So I would just want to clear the air over here that disinfection is not a very expensive affair. We all are using hand sanitizers, and we know how the prices have reduced drastically over a period of time, because it is coming into a mass uses. And let's say a biosecurity box is actually it can serve for any workplace. It can serve for up to 5,000 square feet of workplace with 40 people working there. This one box is sufficient, disinfect for the complete disinfection of furniture, floor, and in all walls and everything twice a day, with all hand sanitizers and contact surface disinfection, everything. And the cost comes to just about merely 300 rupees a day. That's less than the cost of a tea coffee budget for any company of that size, which has a 5,000 square feet of carpet space. So the cost is the purchases can be done. The product are available on nowpurchase.com, and you can see the price for yourself. But then what I'm trying to tell you here is the cost of disinfection is not very high, so it doesn't cost much.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the common myths around. I would like to, we have been pretty much on track with the webinar today. I would like to conclude the webinar and propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the Chamber and Now Purchase. After a very engaging and insightful discussion on the topic, which is mitigate risk of COVID-19 at your workplace, I take the opportunity, both on the behalf of MCCI and Now Purchase, to wholeheartedly thank our guests, Dr. Pranay Kumar Agarwal, Consultant Specialty ENT Clinic, and Mr. Shubham Karnani, Director Technical Chemtech Specialty, for gracing the webinar and enriching all of us with their valuable views and insights. The information provided by them would definitely prove vital for all of us, especially now that gradually workplaces are opening up and people are going back to work. I express my heartfelt thanks to the members of the Chamber, friends, business associates, friends from the media, and all the participants for their august presence at this webinar. I believe initiatives like these can impart necessary information and help everybody going ahead. I propose a hearty vote of thanks and request all of you to carry this with acclamation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.